Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm Oliver, and today I'm going to take you through setting up DHCP on a Cisco router. Firstly, I'll take you through what I've set up here, which is 15 endpoints on the right, which are going to have dynamically assigned IP addresses from the DHCP server that we're going to set up shortly. We've got 3 endpoints at the top, which we're going to assign static IP addresses to, and the IP address range I'm going to use 192.168.1.1 to 192.168.1.254 on a subnet of 255.255.255.0. We're going to use 4 static IPs in total, and they're going to be for the FA or the Fast Ethernet port 00 on the router that connects to the switch, and for 3 at the top of these endpoints, and then 15 dynamic IP addresses here. But we're going to dish them out when the DHCP server is set on the router. So firstly, we're going to go into the router and we're going to go to the command line interface. It sets this up, and then we're going to go into the configurations. We're going to hit enable. We're going to go through to the privileged exec mode, and then we're going to go into into the configuration mode, and we're going to want to go to interface Fast Ethernet 00. This is where it's going to start, so we need to assign a static IP for this first to give it a gateway, to give that router the gateway, and then we can tell the DHCP server where to go out, send the IP addresses out of, but I'll explain this later on. I won't get too far ahead at the start here. So I want to go to interface Fast Ethernet 00, and I'm going to assign it an IP address. So IP address 2.168.1.1 with a subnet of 255.255.255.0. I'm going to give it the no shutdown command. Enter. And that's going to, there we are. Look, interface Fast Ethernet, change state to up. So we should be able to set some configuration here, and to check that the configuration has gone in okay, if we go back to privileged exec mode and type in show running config, enter, we can tab down until we see Fast Ethernet port 00, 192.168.1.1, 255.255.255.0. So we know that's set there. So if we close that down for now. Now at the moment nothing here has got an IP address, so if we go into these endpoints and we set the IP address on these, so the next IP address in this network is going to be 192.168.1.2 with the subnet of 255.255.255.0. Now we're going to have to give this a default gateway, basically so traffic can travel around the network. So the default gateway is the router or the Fast Ethernet 00 port we put in on the router there, so 192.168.1.1, and we're going to close that down. So in there that'll be set, and to test that this has gone in we can go to the command prompts, and if we ping 192.168.1.1 this, there we go, and it's connected, so we know traffic is sending to and from the router and the endpoint in question. So if we close that endpoint down and we go to the next ones, desktop IP configuration 2.168.1.3, 2.168.1.1 for the default gateway, and there we go, and we can test this again. 2.168.1.1. There we go, so we know traffic is going to and from the router there. Now, to make sure that our network connectivity is doing what it is, or what we want it to do, I'm going to ping the other endpoint that we've set up with the 192.168.1.2 IP address. So here we go, ping 192.168.1.2, and there we have it. We know that we've got connectivity throughout our network at the moment. Now, as you can see, it does get a bit tedious, a bit slow, putting IP addresses in, and for a network administrator, it does get time consuming. So if we go to this now, this is going to be our last computer we set up statically. Sorry, wrong page. If we go to IP configuration, 192.168.1.4, put the subnet mask 255.255.255.0, default gateway of the router, so 192.168.1.1, and we're back in. So let's give that a test as well, just to make sure that that is causing no problems. 192.168.1. There we go, so we know it's hitting the router, and if we give it another test on the other endpoint IP addresses, 1.3, we know our network's up and running statically. We've done that manually, it's taken a little bit of time, but now we're going to close this time down on assigning IP addresses to the rest of the users over here. So, to create DHCP on the server, this is just basic, very basic on the router. You can do a lot more on here, but we can go into that at a later stage in the videos. So if we go to the bottom and we can go into configuration mode, and we want to start setting up a DHCP server or DHCP facility on the router. So if we're unsure of the commands, let's give it a question mark, and we can see what's going on. Let's have a look. IP global. We need the IP command, so it's global IP configuration subcommand basically. So if I go IP DHCP, that's going to start me off with a DHCP server. So question mark DHCP, and it's saying we can either exclude addresses from DHCP. We haven't created a pool yet, so the keyword there is pool, and we can put that command in. So if we go to here, pool, the next command will be word, so it's the name, that's the name of the DHCP pool we're going to give to this router. So, or the network, should I say. So we give it a pool name of internal, enter. We're now in the DHCP configuration. What it's going to ask us here is a set of, in here you're going to have to configure how you want it to work, so what network you want it to work for. Do you want it to include or exclude certain addresses? So let's just shift the question mark. So I want it to be on a network number and mask. So let's do the network command. It's going to ask you for what network you want it on. Now we can tell this by the IP address range up here. So it's going to be on the 192.168.1.0 network. So if we put 192.168.1.0 network, subnet 255.255.255.0, and press enter. That's gone in there. Now we've told that we want it to give dynamic IP addresses out in that range. So if we have to tell it what default router it's going to use, where it's going to go out of into that network, and we can see that up here, default routers. So if I say default router 192.168.1.1, we're telling it that anything connected to that send out an IP address in that pool range. Enter. If we exit, press enter, exit again, go to privileged exec mode, and if we do show run, and we can see there now that an IP DHCP pool internal has now been created to cover that range of IP addresses, and it's going to go out over that router port, or that default router port. So if we get rid of that for now, and because these have already been assigned, let's start by going into here, IP, click DHCP, and just have a see what the next address is that comes up. So this is going to go through a sequence of stages to request the DHCP IP address, do the handshake, and then confirm what IP address is there, and then accept it. So there we go. That's the next one along. So we can see that the router knows about these IP addresses here, and is not going to cause a conflict between these static IPs and assigning the next IP. So we can literally go to these desktops go to the IP configuration, DHCP, close, and just give me a minute to assign all these, which take a little bit of time, but it won't take as long as setting them up statically or manually, which does save a lot of time. I've had this experience at work. So do these. Now if you think of all these computers or endpoints in the workplace, you could be anywhere, up and downstairs, in outer rooms, in people's way, so this is probably the quickest way to get things up. A lot of routers are set to have DHCP on them. Home routers have this facility just for the pure fact it's easy to use, and any endpoint requiring an IP address, whether it be wireless or connected, will request it from the router itself. So it's really handy. Right, okay, so we're nearly there now. Now if we go back, we'll forget these three at the bottom for now. If we go and just click on one of these now, there we go, it's got IP addresses. If we close that, go to commands, and then try and ping one of the static IPs that we gave out earlier, so 192.168.1.3. There we go. And you can see that the network is running. Now it's made it a lot easier, a lot more efficient in the work that we do as network engineers or consultants, and it's connecting, so that's brilliant. It saves, just like I say, saves a lot of time. Now that's done, we can go into here, and one thing I always double check, or try to double check in when I'm configuring a router, is have I saved the configuration. So let's do that now, because when you do this, if you have a power cut or you power down the router, it's not stored in your flash memory. So copy R. So we're going to copy running config. So tab running config to startup config. Enter. Accept with enter again, and we're done. So if we type in show R, there we go. It's done. It's stored it in on the router, and we know that that's going to work. And that is very basic on the setup of the DHCP and the Cisco router. I hope you've enjoyed it. I know it is very basic, but it just helps you understand how DHCP connects over the network, and just to prove it with a ping test, and then you can prove your network connectivity is there. Okay, so I hope you've, like I say, enjoyed it, and give me some feedback. Thank you. Bye.